We can talk about all the AI in the world. We can talk about all the tech in the world. At the end of the day, it's a person, it's the individual, it's the human who is at the center of it all.
We partner with, some of the deep techs, to be able to adopt their in AI knowledge, all the great AI tools and platforms for solving a variety of business problems.
In an Indian landscape, how does it work?
So today we have close to about 1.9 million employees. We have almost 120,000 AI ML skilled engineers in India, which is massive, and that gives, I think, GCCs in India that edge over their global peers.
You celebrate failure?
Quantity of ideas is as important as quality of ideas. Failure.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation here on this podcast being jointly produced by AIM and Optum. Well, I'm your host for the show today, Bhupinder, Chaubey, and gives me great pleasure to be welcoming Amit Vaish, who's the Vice President and Head of People's Team at Optum. But great pleasure for me to be welcoming you today.
Thank you very much, Bhupinder. Very excited to be on your show today and share some insights on this very vibrant space of global capability centers in India.
Well, before we come to the business end of it, let me just first understand a bit about you yourself, right? I mean, you're the head of People's Team. So what does this head of People's Team really do? Let's just break that down first.
Sure. So we call our human resources team the People Team, and for a reason that we directly partner with all our stakeholders. We impact our people experience positively. That's our effort. But in reality, this is the human resources team that has a very wide spectrum of different functional areas that we operate in. To attract, retain, and develop talent for our businesses.
So how many people? I'm trying to understand in your individual way, from your individual lens, how many people in your company would actually be getting impacted by the decisions that you take?
So we have a very large workforce in India, Bhupinder, that's distributed across all of the major centers for GCCs in India. And we've been operating as a global capability center for United Health Group for more than 2 decades now in India. And all of our employees are engaged in delivering technology and operations services of different kinds across the entire healthcare value chain. So that's really what we do from here. And we're also the innovation hub for United Health Group.
That's quite exciting. The global capacity center, right? What is it? What does a global capacity center really do? Is it just a business entity? Is it a conglomerate of people coming together to service a completely different end of the continent? In an Indian landscape, how does it work?
So global capability centers are basically in-house centers, right? And they've gone through their own journey of evolution in India, which is a story that's very widely known. Essentially, these are in-house centers, now termed global capability centers, that partner closely with their enterprise businesses on transformation priorities, which could be pretty diverse. I think what's very impressive, Bhupinder, for information of everyone, is the growth trajectory that these centers have been on, for the last several years. And that is truly, truly impressive. When you look at the evolution, the maturity, and the scale that these GCCs have acquired, in the last several years, that's a success story that is pretty well known out there. But, it's not just everything that's happened in the past, but more importantly, the growth opportunities that await them, in the future that are really going to impact talent strategies of the future, which is relevant for what I do and what my function does. And also position GCCs for more innovation orientation in the future.
Like what?
Just to share with you, I'll build on that. Just to share with you some numbers, and this is all out there in the public domain. So today we have close to about 1.9 million employees, of different professional domains that work in GCCs. This number is expected to increase to about 3.5-4 million by 2030. We have almost 120,000 AI ML skilled engineers in India, which is massive, and that gives, I think, GCCs in India that edge over their global peers, because they can draw on this talent pool to fuel their innovation strategies for the future. And as GCCs invest more in upskilling talent, more graduates come out of engineering colleges, this number will only grow in the future. Almost 20-25 GCCs are getting set up every quarter, and they don't necessarily have to go through the same learning curve the GCCs of the first generation about 20 years back had to go through. Also, I think very interestingly, the number of roles that are truly global, meaning they come with global ownership and accountability, is expected to increase to about 30,000 by 2030, and that is huge. We're talking about. So I think with these shifts that we are seeing, in the GCC landscape in India, there are a set of talent priorities that GCCs, in my view, should be thinking about, for the future. Now, what are these? To your question, I think first of all, looking at building product management capabilities, right? So historically, global capability centers have had large armies of operators and technologists, in their centers. If you embed and co-locate product management capabilities alongside them, I think it has the potential to unlock tremendous value for the enterprise in the future. Secondly, I think leveraging the broader innovation ecosystem to the advantage of the enterprise. So by partnering with startups that you have across the board in India, partnering with leading academic institutions, and also offering opportunities for your internal talent pool to share their innovative ideas can actually unleash innovation in a very significant way that can be quite disruptive to addressing business challenges, of the enterprise. Then
what's the kind of, just on that, what's the kind of skill sets
Yeah.
That we're talking about in these GCCs that you're looking
Yeah.
at?
So I think the skill sets are pretty diverse. It could range from, in the context of healthcare, right, that we find ourselves in India with respect to Optum's diversified footprint. It could range from software engineers, it could mean AI ML capabilities today. It could mean cloud engineers. It could mean resiliency engineers. It could mean data scientists, data architects, and the like. So you have a pretty complex tech stack that we operate in to deliver solutions, to our businesses. In the space of operations, you have medical coders. You have people who deliver processes. You have customer servicing professionals, who are directly, indirectly supporting, customer outreaches. You have finance professionals. You have people who deliver operational excellence, transformation, program managers. So, and above all, you have very deeply skilled and experienced, high caliber leadership, right? That sets a direction for our global capability centers in India.
At the end of the day, whether you're an entity which is only catering to the Indian markets or overseas markets, ultimately at the end of the day, I would like to believe that any global capability center, the fundamental premise has to be on innovation. How are you promoting innovation? So let me ask you, in your position of the leadership role that you have in your organization, what are the steps that you take which enhances, which fosters the spirit of innovation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think like I mentioned at the start, I think in the context to global capability centers, their success in the future to a large extent will, hinge on how they can bring innovation to the forefront, right? Going beyond delivering cost efficiencies or productivity, it's about really how you can bring innovation to the problems that you are, working on. And there are several, steps that we take as far as Optum India is concerned to be able to harness innovation potential of our employees, of course, our large workforce, but equally going out there to partner in meaningful ways with the ecosystem to bring innovation, to our businesses. So we have, lots of our teams are working very closely with the players in the healthcare space that we've identified to look at operational efficiency solutions that are on the back of AI, very interesting products that they have, incubated that have the potential of bringing in fresh ideas for addressing pressing business problems, for healthcare. We run an annual innovation event every year, which is called iFactor, and that actually has been successfully running for a couple of cycles now, where we actually crowdsource ideas, from teams of employees.
Of your own company, or is it meant for
or
the
our
industry?
company, of our company, right? People get together, form teams cross-functionally, which means, operations talent, partnering with the technologists, partnering with, some other capabilities to get together to look at innovative solutions around business problems that, they're interested with. And through a process of selection, through funneling of ideas, we eventually get to the top 10, that we actually host on a grand finale. And that gets, I think, a lot of attention. That has gone down extremely well with our stakeholders, with our employees.
Can you give us an example in terms of how, like, let's say one of these 10 instances that you're looking at, which went on to the grand finale, one such example which germinates at the very root in your company, and comes up through the ladder and goes up straight to the finale and is then implemented, which then fosters a spirit of innovation that you speak.
Sure. So there was, a solution that I recall, which our learning team, for example, they cracked, and they were interested to look at how you can upskill in a certain technical capability, how they can upskill a particular team in processes in a particular healthcare domain, and they went about transforming that approach to delivering the learning solution from something that was very manually intensive earlier, that was more in-person based and took a long time, it was inefficient, to something that was now more AI enabled on the back of a learning platform that is more AI enabled. It gives the learners the ability to personalize the learning at the pace and the time that suits them best. And that, I think, has made a tremendous impact. It has reduced cost, it has improved the learner experience, and it has impacted learning outcomes pretty positively, right? So that was an automated solution which this learning team created.
And in your experience, something like this that you're talking about, this learning experience, how does it inspire the rest of your workforce?
Sure.
I mean, you're such a big company as you're speaking about, right? If one such person's idea ends up going right at the top and is mentored, supported by the company, to someone who may be just joining the company, what kind of an inspirational role does it play?
Yeah, I think it's when the whole ecosystem comes together is when you actually, get people inspired around the value of innovation and how they can be on their journey itself. So while the idea that I spoke about, and there are literally hundreds of more such ideas across the company, it's about how we put the spotlight on the particular idea, how the leadership actually talks about it, and shares the value and impact at the very highest level of those ideas, how they prioritize this, right, as far as the business is concerned, and how they enable employees, give them the tools, resources, the funding that is really required, to seed ideas, scale them up, grow them, fail fast. It's very importantly, I must talk about that. Not all ideas succeed, but that's okay. I mean, and we, communicate that quite openly to our employees as well, and tell them that it's absolutely fine, to fail, learn from it, and then, move on to the next successful leg of your innovation journey over there.
So it's not, let's say, again, from an Indian lens, it won't mean that because you fail, it leads to some punitive steps against you.
Absolutely not. I think we constantly tell our employees that, look, coming up with ideas is vitally important. Failure is only a stepping stone, right, towards learning from it and then moving on to something that will be more successful next time around. And the best ideas we've had have always gone through starts and stops. They've never been linear, in their progression. They've required the constant support and guidance of SMEs, of leaders, of stakeholders who provided various inputs to be able to perfect it. And then eventually, it gets rolled out at scale. So we don't, look at failure in a negative light. We talk about it, we encourage it, and we celebrate it as well. To help people understand that it's okay.
You celebrate failure?
Yeah, sure.
How does that happen?
We are learning from it. I mean, I'm not saying that we do it.
Sure. I mean, you look at it in the positive light.
Yeah, we have lots of leaders, I think, in the innovation contests and others who have very openly shared their own vulnerabilities, right? They tried to do something, it didn't work, but that's okay. I mean, their sponsors, their mentors, their coaches encourage them, to get up and, make a better impact next time around. So by talking about it openly, coming from leaders themselves, people draw comfort and inspiration that it's okay.
So it's not like sport. Like if you look at sport, you look at cricket, for instance, right, which is great passion. It's almost as if you fail once or twice, your position in the team ends up being threatened. Or if you give too many ideas, to your superiors, that can, again, in Indian lens, can sometimes be looked against. That's not what happens here.
Yeah, no, I think we are one team. We are guided by one mission.
That's why you're the
vision.
head of the people's team.
That's right. So, we want people to be upskilling themselves. We want people to get new ideas. And at this point in time, quantity of ideas is as important as quality of ideas. It only then can you actually harness an innovation culture that we want them to. So more is better for us, and we are constantly wanting people to uh, join that journey towards becoming an innovation-driven organization.
Amit, you guys are your company, the kind of people, everything about you is big in terms of scalability, in terms of your innovation. But when you're big, it also brings the burden of greater responsibility on you, right? How do you ensure that in these times, and there's so much of AI, there's deep tech, there's so many intrusions, right, all around us. In this space of health tech, from the vantage position that you occupy in your company, how do you ensure safety?
It's a great question, and one that we have learned, Bhupinder, by trial and error. We are still learning. I don't think any organization today that I look around has claimed victory as far as adoption and scaling up of AI is concerned. They're all at various stages in their journey. I think for me and for our organization, it's about really understanding the lay of the land in healthcare system. Healthcare is an extremely complex space, as I've mentioned. And by that virtue of its complexity, it is also a very interesting use case for the responsible application of AI. And AI has many uses, right, to be able to address chronic challenges in healthcare around making healthcare more affordable, removing friction in the system, improving customer experience for the benefit of all. We are a mission-driven organization, and we are tasked to improve the healthcare system for everyone that healthcare impacts.
But just help me understand this. I'm listening to you and I'm asking myself this question that AI, deep tech, which I'd like to believe, are great friends and great complements to your ecosystem. But do you really look at them as enablers? Are they enabling you to do better business?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have.
Or is that leading to some newer challenge for you, for which you still have to grapple for answers?
Well, the challenge. Well, let me answer that in two parts. Right. The one is the opportunity of partnership. I think we partner with some of the deep techs, to be able to adopt their in AI knowledge, their platforms and tools, which we've offered to our workforce to help them upskill themselves, reskill themselves, and make use of all the great AI tools and platforms for solving a variety of business problems. The challenge that comes with it is not limited to us alone, including deep tech themselves and several other GCCs. The challenge is one of change. Challenge is one of enabling progressive culture shifts, right? And that very naturally, as a global leader in healthcare, which is committed to using AI responsibly for transforming healthcare, we are acutely aware of. We know that the rapid adoption of AI and its scaling will not come without its challenges in terms of managing change for the large workforce and, to your point, the scale that at which we operate in. And how are we doing that? In a couple of different ways. First of all, addressing any apprehensions or fears that our workforce will have. Right? We have invested heavily in upskilling everybody across the board. So for technology, for example, it means completing certain certification courses that are important for them to become skilled at usage of AI. For others, it is about going through, again, courses that are non-technical, including leaders themselves who must understand what it means to be an AI-first leader today. And for everybody, regardless of the role you play, the function you are in, it is about using AI tools, right? Only then can the adoption be institutionalized across the organization there. Now, it is also about trying to emphasize to everybody today that we don't need to use AI as yet another tool for automation and efficiency, of which we have plenty, but using the power of AI to really reimagine processes, right? And that is what will solve those challenges in healthcare that I talked about, of wastage, of duplication, of inefficiency, and ultimately help us to impact the health system more positively.
But the one word which I've heard extensively from you is leadership, right? And now, you've thrown some light on how you're upskilling your own labor force by the kind of instances that you're giving. But I'm just thinking, does it not add to your challenge? Because technology also evolves and changes at a very, very rapid pace. What are the kind of steps that you take, at least within your organization at your level, which ensures that your workforce is up to speed with the most advanced or developed technologies which are around us in this space?
So, the investment that we are making, as I mentioned, in upskilling our workforce in AI, but in other areas as well, right? I spoke about AI at length. Let me talk about US healthcare systems, like, for example, right? That is one of the most important determinants of how we can continue to evolve and become even more strategic in our partnership with the enterprise going forward. As I mentioned, we've been in India for more than 2 decades now. and we've acquired great scale. We have deeply differentiated healthcare domain capabilities out here. We are well distributed, and we've been successful in several ways. But that's the past, right? Now, the future will greatly depend on how successfully we can continue to deepen our understanding of US healthcare systems. And that's a complex space because US healthcare is dependent on several moving parts, right? Governmental policies, regulations, technology changes, and the likes. And therefore, keeping pace, with that is vitally important for us to stay ahead of the curve. We partner with several specialized partners who have an understanding of that to upscale our workforce on US healthcare systems. Incidentally, I must share with you, Bhupinder, that upskilling our employees on US healthcare also has a profound impact of developing empathy across the board, right? Which is extremely important for success in our healthcare industry.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
Upskilling people to deal with US workforce,
Yes.
leading to empathy across the board.
Totally, because the US healthcare system is plagued with several challenges, right? Members expect better experience. They find cost of healthcare prohibitive. Healthcare is not always accessible, at places that people want it to be. And there are several breakages in the system that don't necessarily lead to a positive experience on the part of that. There are several stories I can quote from our front lines, Bhupinder, where an employee in India, for example, has proactively scheduled a member appointment when the member himself probably forgot to do that. And that very simple act of scheduling that appointment with a care provider, on that day ensured that the member was around to see a healthy life for several years after that. It's a small example, probably an insignificant one in the context of the large healthcare system.
Well, a great
but that
example,
comes
nevertheless.
only with empathy. It doesn't come with performing a role like someone else, would do in a GCC in India.
So at the end of it, then therefore, it's interesting that you say this, because then what that brings us to is that we can talk about all the AI in the world.
Yeah.
We can talk about all the tech in the world. At the end of the day, it's that basic human connect. It's that basic person on the ground. It's a person, it's the individual, it's the human who is at the center of it all. Is that the spirit by which you're guided?
100%. 100%. Technology, we've always said technology is not at the center. The person who's at the center is the member who needs care, right? The patient who approaches care delivery organizations at times when they are most vulnerable. And I think dealing with them with compassion, with empathy is what our workforce is all about.
Let's look at the leadership position that we were talking about. How do you ensure that you stay ahead of the curve? Is it just by upskilling? Is it by generating the spirit of empathy that you're speaking about? What are those criterions, those essential ingredients you feel, which keeps you ahead of the curve on the leadership?
Yeah, great question. And I couldn't agree more with you that leadership underscores success in more ways than anything else there, right? Unfortunately, the reality...
What is success?
Yeah.
Is it financial success? Is it human success?
For us, success is about delivering on our mission, which is to transform healthcare for the system as a whole, right? And we are deeply committed to the pursuit of doing it, and there are clear indicators that we are making progress in the right direction. Of course, there's much more to do, and we are committed to progressing on that journey. Now, as far as leadership is concerned, Bhupinder, the reality is that unfortunately today's times, there isn't a playbook, right, that leaders can readily use to adopt styles of leadership that are proven to be successful, etc. It's each person aspiring to become a leader and successful in their own right must evolve their own playbook depending on the context that they find themselves in. For us at Optum, our belief is that we are one team guided by one vision, one mission, and we embrace one culture that is grounded in our core values over there. And this brings a set of leadership behaviors that are integral for the success of all our leaders across the broad enterprise. So there are very clear behaviors in line with our core values, like being bold, which results in better innovation, right? Connecting and growing, that develops relationships, right? Being responsible in the use of technology. Also acting honorably, right? Which directly impacts our core value of integrity, and others that leaders are actively encouraged, to adopt in their ways of working. And that, I think, underscores successful leadership for us.
But let me ask you, when you're bold,
Yeah.
you can often end up being brash as well, right? And it's a very, very thin line.
Sure.
How do you ensure that your workforce at least doesn't cross?
So this is, I was wanting to complete actually that. And, for us, all of these leadership behaviors are important to ground us in the culture that we aspire to build. And for us, it's not just about what we do, but how we do that's equally important, right? So I think that, hopefully answers the question around, you can be bold, but you can also be brash, but not necessarily if, you also give a thought to how you're approaching, your deliverables and your KPIs and your hard targets, besides just, the what of.
No, I'll tell you what I'm getting at. Again, to give you a sporting example, right? There is Sachin Tendulkar, who's a god of cricket, and then there is Virat Kohli, who's a king of cricket, right? Sachin Tendulkar stands for certain values. Equally big brand. Virat Kohli stands for certain values, equally big brand. But one is very bold, very aggressive. One is very bold but brash. Both of them great leaders in their own right? So I'm trying to understand how does a big company like you, with the scale of workforce that you have, with your ability to impact human lives that you clearly seem to be impacting, how do you ensure that the scale is always tilted in favor of being bold, being aggressive, but being good? Is it that human value? Is that human connect that you focus on?
It's entirely that. I think, like I've said previously as well, we are a large enterprise, a Fortune 3 organization, global leader in healthcare services and benefits. We have, a great deal of expertise in solving healthcare problems that no one else, in the world can do. We are uniquely positioned because of our size, scale, and experience to be able to do this. And we pride ourselves at doing, solving some of the most complex healthcare problems. But at the same time, we approach, our solution with a profound sense of compassion, with a sense of empathy for the person who needs care the most. And I think when you combine the two, right, when you combine that rigor of developing the best-in-class solution with the empathy that is required to apply it actually to the person who needs it most in their times of vulnerability, is when actually you get that persona of care delivery that really delivers impact.
The other challenge I find, again, for big businesses is with large workforces, is often the distinction between human capital and financial capital. At your level, how do you ensure, again, if empathy and human connect is at the core of your organization, how do you ensure that when it comes to balance sheets also, it's not just the financial balance sheet that you're looking at?
It's not either or. It's not that if you focus on human capital, it is at the cost of financial capital, or the other way around. There, end of the day, this is a large commercial organization. Everything that we do with respect to people is with a financial outcome as well, right? Whether it is going out to the market to hire best-in-class talent, whether it is retaining our top performers, whether it is investing in growing them to take on more progressive responsibilities, or whether it is, like I said, shaping future-ready skills like artificial intelligence or medical coding or process excellence or something else. All that, all of these are very, very directly aligned, to financial outcomes of our business that are priority for them. And we don't lose sight of the big picture when we actually look at managing our human capital goals.
Since I've come here and I've been interacting with their employees, I find that a number of them have been working here for well over 10 years. You seem to be amongst the younger lot of that group. What is it? I mean, help me understand the culture. What is it that this organization does? What's at the heart of the culture that people seem to be happy being here?
Yeah, no, true, very true. And I would attribute it to, I think, just the fact that we are able to connect the work we do, every single employee, and they're constantly reinforced by messaging through leadership, by messaging through team manager.
You're not a hierarchical organization? Are you not a hierarchical organization at all?
We are a large organization, but I wouldn't call us hierarchical because our leadership is very, very approachable. We work pretty much hands-on across the rank and file of the organization. It's all sleeves rolled up. We get down to addressing challenges at whatever level required to do so. So it's not just hierarchy, in the traditional sense of it. Yeah, of course, we have roles and we have, all of that stuff. But typically, our leaders are, very grounded in the work they do. They, go and work right at the front lines and to look at, customer challenges or any process problems that are required to be solved, and they deal with the fires that are important.
Tell me about one story which gives you the greatest amount of satisfaction. Did you manage to save a human life, like you were telling me about this example, or for someone who may have forgotten his appointment? Something that when you went back home, you thought, yeah, this is a great place to be in. I've done I've done the best thing in my life.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the story recently, and it's relevant to the work that I do in HR. We organized an event a couple of months back in Bangalore with our visiting global technology leader, and this was an event that was targeted to engage with prospective AI talent. Right, we were looking to hire them, and we did a typical event over there to bring them on for the day. It was an event for a couple of hours over lunch or so. And, in the lead up eventually to the engagement with them, there were some talks and there was a panel discussion as well that was being hosted for the information of all these prospective, talents that we were chasing to help them understand what exactly we did with, all the AI capabilities that we are trying to build internally for addressing healthcare challenges. And in the course of, I think, that event, many of those who were present on that day were so mesmerized that I think towards the end of the event, when we were just having a networking session with the leaders, one of them walked up to me and said that, look, I've heard, every company using AI to solve business problems, but Optum is probably the only company that is applying AI to make a difference to human lives. And I think that for me was a moment of reckoning, because coming from somebody who had no connect with the organization whatsoever, and leaving us with that perspective at the end of that engagement session, it meant a lot.
So, in conclusion, Amit, to all the people who'd be watching this broadcast, whether it's leadership or people who'd be entering the profession, let me ask you, what would be that one piece of critical advice that you'd give at least to your juniors?
Yeah.
We operate, as I said, in times of great technology and great intrusion and
Yeah.
all. That one advice,
Yeah.
which could keep people on the positive side of this balance sheet that I was talking about, financial capital versus human
It
capital.
is about being guided by our mission, and that's what we take great pride in, Bhupinder. We are an organization that is in it not just for the commercial success of our enterprise, which is of course important given the position that we occupy in the industry, but it is equally about staying true to our mission of transforming healthcare for the greater good, right? For all stakeholders who are impacted by the health system. And I think when you connect your work with that larger purposes, when you derive pride in it, when you will get people to stay here for the long term, as you've noticed. So that would be my advice as well, to think about how your work really impacts, I think, that purpose of ours as an enterprise. That I think will keep them engaged for the long term.
Well, Amit, we live in times where the shelf life of everything appears to be getting shorter and shorter. Great pleasure for us to be in conversation with you and to hear all these insights from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
for your time.
Bhupinder. It's been a pleasure.